Randy Decker from RAC Foundation might be joining us, and when he does, Bree will give him audio privileges, and he might be able to help answer any of those competition questions that we have. So I'm going to get started. First question, where do we get t-shirts and what logos do we need to use? This question is specifically for robot coaches that have received a grant either from us last year or this year. We ask that you put a logo on the back of your shirt. If you did not receive a grant from us in the last 2 years, then we don't require the grant logo. It'd be nice for you to put the logo on there, but it's not required. But I'm going to show you where you can buy shirts, and I'm going to show you where the logos go. So on our website, techpointyouth.org, you go to robotics, and it says Team T-shirts. We have a T-shirt guy here in town that has, I don't know if they're the lowest prices, but if they're lower than your guy in your local area or girl or whoever you buy shirts from, you can order directly from us. And if you aren't going to buy from us and you just want the logo, it says sponsorship logo right here is a Google Drive to the 3 logos that we would like for you, if you received a grant from us, we'd like for you to put them out there. And so there's the DOE, IWIT, which is Indie Women in Tech, and Tech Point Foundation for Youth, and we have an example of how we want you to arrange them. So that's just something for you to think through. That's t-shirts. Otherwise, you buy your own t-shirts somewhere else. Everyone on your team should be wearing t-shirts to your competitions. It's a team. How can I connect with other schools in my area? There's a lot of questions we get. We want you to connect with other teams. So going back to my website, going to robotics, robot map, Bree just updated this map where it shows all these blue dots are VEX IQ elementary and middle school teams all over the state. So I'm going to pick on someone really rural. We're going to zoom in right in, let's see here. Let's say you're in Newcastle and you're like, I want to be connected with, I'm in Newcastle. I'm a first-year team. I am in this school right here. If you click on it, I'm in this school. I'm at Parker Elementary. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 schools around you. Wellburn, Eastwood, Newcastle, Westwood Elementary. All these schools are either first year, second year, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh year robot coaches. I can connect you with them. I want you all to communicate with one another, help one another. And if someone reaches out to you, help them. We were all first year coaches at some point. Some of you were wanting to arrange scrimmages or workshops or come over and do a shared practice. All of these things, I want you guys to start working and collaborating to one another. Don't think of this as football or basketball where we hate other teams and we want to destroy the other teams. This is robotics. We should be embracing and supporting one another. So anyway, that's where you can find other teams. This is a big question a lot of people have is what are the grade levels, what grade levels can be on our team? So they've made a change. It's no longer by grade levels, it's by age. And so I want to show you, this is the language from the manual, but I want to show you where you find this language, and we'll go back to this. So in the game manual, which you can Google VEX IQ game manual, I think you guys know where it lives. It's also on our website. But if you go to the very top in the glossary, it's under student. I think most of you probably know this, but I want to explain it. And I don't know if Randy is on yet. Bree, is Randy on yet? If not, add audio to him. I'm going to go, I just passed it. Under.
Yeah, bye, Mom.
Oh, hey, Randy, let me, help me out if I say something wrong. I'm just going to type student. I didn't pass it. Student.
Should be around page, it should be around page 9.
Page 8 on the manual. What it has is the exact definition for eligibility for schools. So anyone born after May 1st, 2004, at the time of Worlds, which is going to be at the end of April, is where they're going with this. And then where it's saying any student born after May 1st, 2007 is for elementary, and elementary students can play up, meaning if you have an elementary student that's right at that border and they want to be on the middle school team, let's say you're a 6th grade team, but you have a fifth graders as well, they want to be up on the middle school, they can play up and play with the middle school, but the middle school students cannot play down. Older students cannot go against younger students. Basically, elementary can go and get their butts kicked by middle school, but middle school can't go and kick the butts of the elementary kid. And then I also want you to be aware that we have had questions right here. Anyone that has a disability or was held back because of whatever reason, you can get approval to have those teams. You can just email Randy, and he can give you approval to have those students. We should not be excluding any kind of student that got held back or is in a different grade, but not in the same age as those students. Is there anything you want to add to that, Randy?
No, that sounds like, that sounds pretty good on that. So just to let everybody know is the reason they changed this is because they're going by how ages are done worldwide. And for example, in China, ages start at conception. So that's kind of why they're just trying to make it go with age instead.
Cool. A little geographic lesson, cultural lesson. Thanks, Randy. I get a lot of questions is how do you practice for competition? So this was a little suggestion that Randy put on there. There is an app that you can use, the VEX IQ timer on the VEX IQ Hub app. You can get that on Android, Apple iOS, or an iPad, and it has the exact same buzzer, the timer, start, and the 35-second ding. So that's a good little way to start practicing through it. I tell teams and students that you want to treat driving just as you would treat a basketball student learning how to shoot the ball. So in basketball, if you think about it, a lot of people, what they'll want to do is they'll do a 1-minute round over and over and over again. That's the last thing you do. So in basketball or in football at practice, you don't just play games and scrimmages. You do that at the end of the practice. So what you do in basketball is you're shooting free throws, shooting free throws, shooting free throws. Then you're doing layups, and you're doing layups, you're doing layups. Then you're doing passing and passing. Then you're doing three-point shots. Then you start putting them together. So I'm going to do a three-point shot, get the rebound, and do a layup. Three-point shot, layup, miss, passed it to someone else. You're going to start putting those skills together. So same thing in robotics. If you're picking up balls and putting them in cubes, pick up the balls, put them in the cubes. You do that 10, 15, 20 perfect times in a row before you then go pick up balls, put them in the cubes. Now move the cube to the corner. Now do that 15 times. Balls in the cube, cube in the corner. Balls in the cube, cube in the corner. Over and over. You just have to repeat that over and over. That's how I practice for competitions. And then you get the timer out and you do a full minute. And you need to make sure I have teams will break down a full minute into 10 or 5 or even 1 second increments to say, what do we do in the first 5 seconds? What do we do in the second 5 seconds? And you kind of have even a contingency plan. If something doesn't work, because it never will, when do you bail putting balls in cubes and just put them in the corner? How many points are a ball in a cube? That's 2 or 1, depending if you put it on top or inside. How much is in the corner? It's 10. Well, let's stop putting balls on top of cubes where we can just push it. So at what point in time do you scrap what you're trying to do if you're not doing successful and move on? And you should have that as kind of like an outline cheat sheet for the kids to what to do at certain times. And then the last thing I think is really valuable is, if you have the ability to build 2 robots or you have 2 teams, use those 2 teams to be practicing together. And if not, invite other schools. Even if you do have 2 teams, invite other schools to your practice and run some scrimmage fake practices. I think a lot of coaches and teams are kind of hesitant. They don't want to reveal their secrets, be like, see what my robot looks like until competition. Once the competition starts, everyone's going to see a robot. People post videos on YouTube. Like, you should be more open to letting teams see your progress and work and being open to sharing with how you did it. So if there's any other questions, please let me know. If there's any other questions, please let me know. Otherwise, those are my suggestions for practicing before a competition. How long and often do people practice? So the average, what we found out, is about an hour and a half, once or twice a week. And what I think all coaches know is as you get closer to a competition, you start doing 2 practices, 3 practices, practice every day, cancel school, we're going to do practice all day long. The average in Indiana is an hour and a half long practices, 1.5 times a week. So that's 1 to 2 times a week. And then the length, the average number of weeks, last time I checked, was just over 10 weeks before a competition. That's the average. So if there's any other questions, shoot them in the chat. Let me know about that. I'm going to move on. What do other kids do on the team while others are building? This is a great question. I mean, every team is going to be completely different. I assign roles or have the kids self-select what roles and what responsibilities they'll have. Think of a small business. Okay, you'll have an accountant. You're going to have a salesperson. You're going to have a marketing person. You're going to have someone manufacturing or making the product. They all work together and they all have their own roles and responsibilities. They work independently, but together as a team, they all work for that business. So on the robotics team, you're going to have a programmer. You're going to have a builder. You're going to have a driver. Maybe you're going to have someone building the field, resetting the field, learning the rules, working on the engineering notebook, working on the STEM research project. I mean, these are all different things that you can have them do. Every team does it a little bit different. And I mean, the whole point and goal, and I think that's what this question is making sure that all the kids have something to do. And I always say is kids are standing around not doing anything. I go, have we scored a perfect score yet? No. Then we have work to do. So until your team has scored a perfect score, has a perfect engineering notebook, which is impossible, has the perfect autonomous mode in skills for driving, autonomous, and teamwork challenge, you have work to be doing. Kids could be on, I mean, this is silly, but this is real. Kids can be on YouTube looking at what other teams are doing for this year's challenge and, sketching out designs and ideas that you can relate to the build team. So a research division where kids love YouTube now, so there's so many videos out there already of teams. Ask questions in the chat if you guys have other questions. How to help guide students with robot designs that are radical. So,
hey George, can I comment before you go on?
Yeah.
Okay, a couple things I want to make sure everybody's aware. For those who are trying to get a bid to state, a couple things you need to consider is a lot of the really good teams, they will have only one set of drivers throughout the season. Now, perfectly your choice. If you want to have everybody have a chance at that, that's fine. But you got to make sure that they're all equally good if you do it that way. And then also, I would recommend you download VEX Code IQ blocks for the programming, because another way to get the state is in skills. You need to do both driving and programming to get the highest score possible in order to get a possible pick from the skills list. So VEX Code IQ blocks is a really good program to work with. So just a couple things I wanted to mention on that.
Yeah, and I'll actually show you guys VEX IQ blocks here in a little bit when we get up there. And Randy is right. It is to your advantage to have a set of drivers that have practiced over and over what the first person's going to do, what I call the opener, and what the closer is going to do. And Randy's right. Most good competitive teams have the same set of drivers, and that might be, if you have 6 kids on the team, that might be a blue team and a red team. I don't like to use numbers like a 1 and a 2 or the JAV and varsity, but you might have 2 sets of drivers. And I've had people tell me at competitions, if you have 8 matches, you have the red team do even matches, the blue team, or I don't know what I just said. The blue team does even, red team does odd, and then the team that had, of those 4 matches that had the higher score, they're the ones that play in the finals. So you just gave 4 kids opportunities to compete, and you had a fair way to decide who drives in the finals. So that's a pretty common thing as well. But make sure they decide. Going back to the how to help students decide radical ideas, honestly, you're not going to like my answer, but you want the kids to try these radical ideas and fail and decide why that is not going to work. Now, I think the question should be is how long should you allow the kids to go down a path of failure? Because I think you want the kids to figure out sometimes keeping it simple is the easiest. If kids want to design, let me give this example. If kids want to pick up the balls, put them in the cubes, put balls on top of cubes, put cubes in corners, and put cubes on top of the green platforms, that's way too many. They're basically saying, I want to do everything. What I would advise to do is, let's design a robot that can pick up the cubes. Great, let's design a robot that can place the cubes. Okay, once you can prove that it can pick them up and you can place them, we can now move on to the next thing. So have the kids figure out what is all the things we want to do, prioritize it, and start with the number one thing. We want to get cubes in the corner because they're worth 10 points and they're easy. Great. Let's design the robot to do that. Once you do that, what's the next priority? Balls in those cubes? Great. Let's design a robot that can still pick up the cube to put them in the corner, but now how do we pick up balls for the cubes? That's the next step. That's the next thing. And once kids start going down a radical path, what you'll be doing is saying, let's not focus on too many things. Let's focus on one at a time. And if you have the resources, or have extra parts, it is okay to have 2 groups or 3 groups of students trying out 2 or 3 different prototypes. So if you're trying to figure out how to pick up a ball, you might have 3 or 4 different versions of claws. You have 3 or 4 versions of kids working on those claws, and then they all put it on the same robot, because you have a chassis and an arm. Now you need the hand. Well, they're all designing the hand part. You have 3 or 4 versions. They put them on there and figure out which one works the best. And as a team, you come together, and the ones that don't get on the robot, you have a discussion to say, yeah, your claw did not get on the robot, but it helped us move forward to say, you know what? It's not a good idea to try to hit these balls with a tennis racket design. Like, hitting the balls is not a good idea. We should probably pick and place these. So your design proved that hitting the balls, we know now, hitting the balls into the corner is not a good way to hit them, like golf balls. So anyway, it's a hard lesson to learn, but the kids will have to learn that not every design is going to make it on the robot. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Not seeing any questions. I guess I'm answering all your questions, or you're not listening. Not sure which. Hopefully I'm answering all your questions. How do we sign up for a competition? Honestly, the easiest thing you want to do, I'm just going to show you 2 places. 1, I'm going to show you the website, but 2, on our robot resource page. So going back to our website right here, and you go to robotics, robot resource, competition, and right here it says under events, how to sign up for a competition. I have a YouTube video that literally walks you through. Hi, I'm George Gilman. That's me. It's a YouTube video that walks you through how to register for a VEX IQ event in Indiana. So it's a common question we get. Watch the video. It's 5 minutes long, and it'll tell you 3 different ways to sign up for a competition. If you have not signed up for a competition right now, you need to do it right now. As in, like, when we get done with this meeting, you need to jump on robot events and sign up for a competition right now, because they're filling up quickly. I'm going to let Randy explain early bird registration. Questions of what is early bird registration? How does it work? So Randy, I'll let you chime in on this.
Okay, well, like what I listed there, if you're familiar with how Disney FastPass works, it's the same way. You can sign up for up to 2 events, and then until that event happens, you cannot sign up for any additional later on, which is just like the FastPass. And if for some reason you sign up and you decide you don't want to do that when you have to do something else, it does not reset. Once you use it, it's used until after that event's over. The one other thing too is once you get within 6 weeks of an event, it opens up for anybody to sign up for any open spots. So that's another way to sign up for it. Also, for teams that are in 2 or less events, which right now that's pretty much everybody, I guess, or a lot of people, I have look for on the list what's called invitationals, where you sign up on the wait list, and the EPs will know to look for teams in 2 or less events to let them in their event. So there's different ways to do this, but basically that's how the FastPass works. You only get to do 2 until and you don't get another until you use one of them.
Okay. If there's any questions on early bird registration, let's throw it in the chat, but otherwise we'll move on. Thanks, Randy. At this point in the season, what should I be focused on in order to prepare for my team's first competition? So there is and it's kind of the next question, and I have it. I'm going to go to the robot resource page. There is a tips for preparing for an event and 101 things I wish I knew before an event. If you've never read these, you have to read these right now. They're great, helpful resources to what to do before an event. But the very first thing, you have to register for an event. Practice driving. So many teams for those 10 weeks of build are focusing on building the robot all the way up to the Friday night before an event, and then get there Saturday to figure out how to drive it. If I had my ideal build season, you would build for 9 weeks, and then the last week of 2 or 3 days at practice before your competition, it's just driving and no rebuilding, no redesigning, no modeling. The driving you should be going on throughout the entire build season, but you should really focus on knowing how to drive the final design that you have, giving your kids an ample amount of time to do that. So focus on driving, and then figuring out how are you going to get to the event, how are you going to get the kids to the event. I advise, and you guys have figured this out probably your very first year you went to a competition, but I advise that you have an adult for every team responsible for the team, and that person's not you. If you have multiple teams, we'll say 3, you should have 3 parents in charge of team A, B, and C, and you are in charge of all 3. So they're in charge of their daily, all throughout the day, what field you're going to be on, when you go to skills, when do you eat, when are you in the pits. They're chasing them, following them all day long. You are kind of like just overseeing everything. You're a coach, okay? So try to have an adult for each team that is responsible for them. Have a parents' night before the competition or a week before the competition, talking about expectations, being polite during events, keeping your mouth shut if you're not happy with the referee call, or you're not happy with the way someone, how many points were scored, things like that. What to bring to a competition? It's in the tips, but you bring your entire team, not just the drivers. That's number one right out of the gate. Everyone on the team should be going to the competition. I don't care if they're the programmer and you're just driving, and that programmer should be at the skills doing programming. They should be starting the program. I don't care if they're the marketing. All they did was the STEM research project. They should be there, and they should be cheering them on. In fact, I tell coaches, all the kids should be cheering, watching every match, and then go back to the pitch cheering on the drivers, whether they got 1 point or they got no points or they got 100 points. Just cheer them on, supporting them, patting them on the back. And battery chargers, extra batteries if you need it. Bring, parts of the game. If you can't fit a whole field, or you're not allowed to bring a field, bring parts of, a cube or a couple balls, maybe a quarter of the field or just the corner, just so that you can practice driving it into the corner. You can put that on the table they give you. How does STEM project work? Is it required? It is not required, and Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not even part of the Excellence Award anymore, that excellence criteria on the rubric. Now, Randy, am I correct in saying that the STEM research project at state will get you to Worlds?
You are correct. We will have a world spot assigned to that.
Okay. And there's a link right there that'll take you. It is announced the theme is science. Is that right?
Yes, you are correct.
Cool. So it is science. And so that is it's a video submission just like last year. I would tell you right now, at most events, since they've renewed it from excellence, not a lot of events are either having it or submitting it. And I'll tell you, if you make it to state, there's a very likely, I would advise you, if you make it to state, to submit your STEM research project, because there was not a lot of submissions last year. So you have a better chance of doing well, because there's not a big pool. And Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, you can submit a STEM research project at state even though you did not win at a local competition. Is that right?
I think they have to have qualified for state in some way before they get submitted. It's not open to just anybody to submit.
Oh, so they have to have won a trophy, a STEM research project trophy at a competition to submit it?
No. They had to have somehow got accepted to state, whether it was from the skills list or excellence or winning.
But yes, so if you get to state, I'd suggest submitting a STEM research project, regardless if you won at a competition or not, because there is a spot to get you to Worlds. Engineering notebook. Is it required? Is there a rubric? What type of notebook to use? Pen versus pencil. So lots of questions on engineering notebook. I would tell you the very good teams require all students to do engineering notebook. And I'll just tell you right now, we did for those of you who were able to attend the Butler training, Jake Simons from Woodview Elementary up in Napanee, Indiana, talked a lot about his engineering notebook and even brought it to the training. And if you didn't make it, I'm going to show you where you can find it under robot resources, under coaches, under TPY returning coaches training. Right here is the training that we went over, and I'm not exactly sure where. I think it's under building your team, and it is competitiveness, where Jake Simons talks and shows off his design notebook, why he does it, how he does it, examples and everything. But even just, I'm just going to go on YouTube right now, and I don't know how slow or choppy this gets when I open up a website. I was told it gets a little choppy. Even I go to YouTube and I do VEX IQ engineering notebook. There are video after video after video after video after video of examples of how they do them, why they do them, what they look like. I would have your students look through. This is a really cute little video of this. She's called VEX IQ. She has really cute, funny little videos. So look through these videos, and then someone asked, is there a rubric? Absolutely, there's a rubric. I'm going to show you where to find those. I'm just going to open up another tab. If you go to, REC has a new website now. I'm going to see if I can navigate through it for you. I'm not perfect with it. I used to be great at it, but it looks really nice. So they have a new website. Let me just show it to you. It is under event partners. I know it's a weird spot. And then there's a event partner resources. I'm going to show you what I feel is like the best resource for you. Under here, it's going to say judges and volunteer resources and judges guide. A lot of coaches don't know about the judges guide because they're like, I'm not a judge. I'm not hosting an event. I don't need to know this. However, this is all public. You should take advantage of it because it's showing what the judges are looking for the excellence and for the engineering notebook. And it's looking for right here, judges award, engineering notebook, and the process that they go through. And the rubric is all in here. So I'm going to jump down to it. All the information's in here. I'm going to scroll down. And that's awards, that's video. Here it is, design award. Nope, that's design award. Sorry. In here somewhere is the engineering notebook design rubric. We'll get there. I think what I'm doing is making the audio really choppy by looking through these things. I swear it's in here. I can't find it right now because so many people are watching. I'm getting nervous. And Bree's telling me you can't hear anything. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to go back to this and tell you that the engineering notebook, look at that link that I showed you. Bree, is it better now that I'm off that website? All right. So opening up websites and trying to talk and doing video, our internet doesn't like. So check out those resources. What type of notebook to use? Don't use a 3-ring binder. Use something that is bound like a composition notebook. Pen, don't erase, don't remove, don't tear, if you make a mistake, you can cross it out and move on. Your kids are going to have to think about what they want to document. And people ask, do you document everything in every practice? Yes, that's exactly what you do. Whether you made progress or not, whether you made mistakes, they want to see all of that. You can take pictures so you don't have to sketch it out every time. Or if you have someone that's really artistic, sketch it out. So those YouTube videos have a lot of great examples, and I would just take a look at those. Do you have an example of an injury notebook? I put a link right here, and under robot resources, and I'm trying to remember where did I put this. Right here. Under awards related, I have the engineering design notebook and an example. So this is the link to what I just showed you and the example of a notebook. Those are all great resources for you to take a look at. Someone asked, I'd like to know more about hosting a competition. So let me just say a couple things. I'll let Randy speak. Yes, I think everyone that wants to host a competition should do it. I think right now in October, it's a little late if you've never done it before. And I'll let Randy correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. But right now, I think what you should do if you want to host a competition is volunteer at a competition close by, or ask the event partner if you can shadow or follow them around because you want to do it next year. Hosting a competition is a wonderful experience because there's a lot of benefits. One, it guarantees you a competition all of your teams can go to. Two, it's a close competition for your team because you would probably have at the school that your kids all go to versus 20, 30 miles down the road. Three or four, I don't remember what bullet point I'm on. The registration, if you're charging $30 and you have 30 teams, that's $900 that goes to your robotics team. So it's almost considered a fundraiser. And it really gets your community involved. So you get your board members and teachers and parents volunteering at the event, and they're getting more awareness and exposure to what you do in robotics, and they're going to have a great time and experience. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is not easy. It takes a lot of work. It is stressful, but it is definitely rewarding and beneficial. Randy also provides a class on how to be an event partner, and so I'll let Randy talk now.
Well, like George just mentioned, we're at the point of the season. In fact, first events is this weekend, and I'm going to. The events I would approve now are going to be called what's called invitationals, where I mentioned this earlier about signing up for one of those. They're going to be geared for teams that are in two or less events. These events will not have judging. It's strictly you're just going to run matches and also the skills field. So they'll be a little bit simpler to run. You won't have as much resources that would be required to run those.
Perfect. Managing multiple teams at the same time. So I get questions, do I need 2, 3, 4 fields, one for each team? No, one field can manage about 3 to 4 teams. Once you start going over that, you might need a second field if you have the capability or the room. You can also stagger practices a little bit if you have to. But once you start getting more teams, you're going to think about more coaches. And if you have, let's say, 4 teams, and you manage the 4th graders, and that's 2 teams, and you have another coach managing the 5th graders, and that's 2 teams, maybe you guys practice on different days and share the same field. There's a question in here I'll just answer right now. People say, if I have 2 teams, do I need 2 robots? Yes, 1 robot per team. Okay, but multiple teams at the same time, there's no reason why they can't practice at the same time. There's no reason why they can't collaborate on designs and discuss what worked and what didn't. There's no reason why they can't share ideas. They should just think of them as now instead of a team of 8, you have a team of 16. They're just going to have 2 different robot designs. So they should collaborate together. They should work together. They should be friends. They should, think of it as not us against them. I don't know what other things you want me to elaborate on. I'd be happy to go on more if anyone has questions on this. So where will the link for this slide presentation? We'll email it out after this. How do leagues work? I'm going to let Randy talk about leagues.
Okay, a league is similar to doing a Saturday event, except it's spread out over what's called 4 sessions. For example, you could do one session for a week for 4 weeks. You can do 1 session per month. It's just how often you want to do it. That'll be 4 sessions. The first 3 sessions is when you run qualification matches, and the last session is where you do the finals match and skills matches. They're designed to only be 2 to 3 hours and to be done during the week after school. So you don't need to do a lot of setup. Just have a field to go and tournament manager ready to go, and then all the teams allow time for all the teams to show up. It takes minimum 16 teams to do a league. So like I said, it's very similar to doing Saturday event. It's just that there's some advantages, like another one is too. Like let's say you do one once a month for 4 months, but you'll have all that time until the next session to make improvements and maybe do it better next time. So it just there's some advantages to doing it that way, and plus it's equivalent to doing 2 to 3 events.
Yeah, it's a great way to get more opportunities for your kids to practice and to go to, you're thinking you're almost going to 4 competitions. It's essentially the same competition though. It's just on 4 different days. So it's a great way to get a lot of exposure and practice. And as Randy said, to make changes, from week 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Any questions on leagues? There's a lot more of them now. I don't know, 10, 15 about. Is that right, Randy? There's a couple more.
There are 11. Last year there was 3. Year before there were none. So yes, we had a big jump this year.
Any questions about leagues? All right, moving on. Competitions. If we have 2 teams, do we need 2 robots? I've already answered that. Yes, you do. You need to have a robot per team. Okay. Randy, is our league state qualifying events?
Yes, they will be there. It's the same amounts where it's champion gets 2 spots and the excellence gets another spot, so 3 spots. So yes, same amount as the other events.
As long as the league has 16 people or 16 teams. Yep.
Well, okay. Oh, actually, let me qualify that. I'm sorry. Actually, that's not correct. This year, all events 16 to 23 was 2 spots only. You had to have 24 or more for that 3rd spot, and that applies to leagues too.
Oh, okay. So league is 16 to 24 teams, depending on the size of the league. 16 to 24 is team or champions. That's 2 teams from that league will get 2 state spots. The winning alliance. If there's 25 or more in a league, that would be the 3rd spot would be excellence. Yep.
No. Actually, a couple things. It's 24 or more. You're off by 1, but then it's not necessarily they will get 1. The spots are available, but if a team that wins has already qualified, it does that spot is gone. It does not go to the next team.
That's right. Yep. And then you guys remember for skills, or maybe you haven't been in this position, we always encourage, as Randy said, to make sure you do skills at every competition and event you go to, because last year, for example, in elementary, there were like 100 and we'll say 60 people qualified for state. We had to invite 40 people for skills. So that means almost the 162 best skills ranking got into state. So use skills as an opportunity to get to state. The not as satisfying and fun, exciting part of it is you might not find out if you qualify for state until February. So don't take your robots apart. You might be getting a call from Randy or I about, hey, you made it to state. This is a great question.
Hey, George, one more thing. Also, to get the highest score, you need to do programming as well as driving. If you do driving only, probably won't make it.
Yep. You guys remember your skill score is the combination of driving and programming added together. So they add the 2 highest scores together. Great question. This is for those who want to get more competitive. When can you touch a robot during autonomous mode? And Randy, did you put this in here, page 26 and 27?
Yes, I did, because it's pretty good sized paragraph on there. If you go to that, you'll see what I'm talking about. But that entire section pretty much answers that question.
Okay. I'm afraid if I move this, I'm going to lose audio, but I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to stop, and then I'll talk. So we'll do it. All right. So all I would say, hopefully you can hear me. All I would say is during autonomous mode, you have the left and right position. You have the 2 starting positions. You can put your robot down if you think in a teamwork challenge. You can be on the left side or the right side. You guys decide which alliance is going to be on the left, which on the right. So in skills, you figure out if you want to go left or right. Once the match starts, you hit the start button. When it's in the robot start zone, you hit the button and it runs out and it does its thing. When it's done running that course, that program, let's say it goes forward to the left, just an L, forward to the left, and it did something, it scored something. As long as it's not touching anything, you can pick that robot up, bring it back to the start. In fact, you can bring it back to the left or right side, does not matter. Now,
so scroll to the bottom of that page where it specifically talks about autonomous, because it says a little bit more there.
I couldn't see it really quick. There's just lots of words. Am I not seeing it?
I just saw it. Go up, go down a little bit further there. Oh, too far.
Sorry, I screwed up. I thought. All right, I'm not. It's on page 26 and 27. I'm sorry. I'm having problems trying to get to it. On page 26 and 27 of the manual, you can touch it as many times as you want. If you touch the robot and your robot is touching a ball or a cube, that ball or cube have to go out of bounds, disqualified. It's not part of scoring. So you cannot use touching the robot to your advantage by going to pick up a cube, bring it back to start, physically picking up, bring it back to start, and then let it go into the corner. No. You can touch the robot anytime. If your robot's touching something, a cube or ball, and you pick it up, it will not work. For coding, what type of laptop is best? To be honest, the new code works on Mac, PC, and iPads, and I'm going to show you that here in a second. So we'll get to those coding questions here in a second. One thing to be very aware of on height, there is a new restriction on what the height is, and let me pull that up on the manual. I have it right here. It is 11 by 19 by 15, and the 15 cannot expand any taller. So last year, if you remember, it had a height of 15, but then once the match started, it can expand to any height you want. This year, it is 11 by 19 by 15, done, cannot be any taller. And I will also point out, if you build the clutch bot this year, the clutch bot, I've been told, expands taller than 15 inches. So you'll have to figure out a way to limit that height. Now, a question that was asked, how can we go taller than, if the robot can only go 15 tall, how can you get on the top platform? Well, let me show you. This is the height of the platform. If you did not notice, there are two sizes of the platform. There's the two short platforms, which have a height of 5 inches. And there's the taller platform, which is the one by itself, which is a height of 9.5. Meaning, if you have a cube, you'll have to probably hold it at the bottom to get it over this platform, because 15 inches is, if we're almost, 5 inches above this, you're going to be out of bounds. So you are going to have to hold it at the bottom part of the cube in order to get it on this platform. So that's just something to think about. Here's my nice little drawing. Here's my cube. And 15 inches is right here, right at this mark. So you are going to have to hold it right down here if you want to put it on the top platform. Like my drawing? I used art tonight. All right. Let's see here. Next question. I'm on the highlighter, not the mouse. There you go. Randy put a nice little, if you have not, VEX IQ forum has a lot of Q&A questions about this year's game. And then also, let me just point out, on that YouTube video, I spend 30 minutes going over all the rules for this year's game with Steve Hassenplug, which knows these rules very well inside and out. So there's a great video in here about this year's game. And you know what? I actually clicked on the wrong one. Bree, we need to update that. The right one is actually, this is 2 years ago. The returning one is right here. It's just, there's a playlist of all of our stuff. and it's under squared away rules and strategies. Right here is the rules, squared away rules and strategies. Goes over all the rules for this year's game. How do we program? So this is now more of a technical robot question, and program with iPad, and then someone asked, do we use Mac PC? So Randy brought it up. Let me just show you where to get it. But Randy brought up what's called VEX Code. I know if you coded last year, you probably used ModKit or Robot C, both great software. Just to throw a curveball and to make things interesting, VEX came out with new software. And I've used it. It's actually not bad. If you've ever used Scratch and your kids use Scratch, it is almost identical to Scratch. I know ModKit is like Scratch, but VEX Code is even more like Scratch. So I'm on the VEX's website. I'm going to go over here where it says resources. I'm going to click on VEX Code and software. And it talks about it. You go down and you can click here to download. And what I was saying is Windows, Mac, and iPad. I have used all three, and all three work just fine. I should say this. Windows works great. Mac works great. The iPad works, but here's my issues. It is sluggish. You can only use the smart radios, which are the blue radios. And I had a lot of issues where it was uploading the software. It would almost take 3 minutes to do. And once it was done, sometimes it didn't actually upload. Like it would freeze or stop or reset in the middle of the upload process. So if you have a Mac or a PC, that's probably going to be your preferred method. If all you have is iPads, I just warn you, you have to be patient and a little finicky. Hopefully there'll be another update. You notice they're on version 1.01, so there might be some updates with the software that might help with the iPads. But I have the software right here. Let me up so you haven't seen it. Here's the software right here, and I will point out there's something that you have to, if you're going to do iPads. Why don't you just say in the chat, does anyone want me to show you how to do iPads? If I get one yes, I'll show you how to do the iPads. Otherwise, I'll just move on. But it's not much different than ModKit. Yes, I'll do iPads. Not different than but one thing is what you're doing is you're adding devices right here. So if I click on add device, here's the controller, here's the drivetrain, here's the motor, here's all of those things. When you click, we'll say drivetrain, what happens, you select your ports. Let me just go through this really quick. What happens is you get new commands as you start adding components. So if I was to add another component, let's say I add another motor. So I'm going to click on motor, and it's on 2. Which way do you want it to rotate? I hit done. It added now the motion for my motor. So there's the drivetrain, here's the motor. So you get new commands to do different things as you add your devices. And I just updated our website. If I go back to this robot resource, I just tell you guys to this, there's so many resources in here. Robot specific resources, and there's programming right here. I'm going to go to ModKit YouTube tutorials. So I started adding some new ones. This is all ModKit. I started adding VEX Code block tutorials in here. So this is all ModKit at the top. But if you're going to start transitioning, which you might as well do now, unless your kids are really adamant about doing ModKit. But if you've never coded, start with VEX IQ blocks. And here's 2 great tutorials. One of these, I don't remember which, starts from the beginning all the way from here's how you download it, here's how you install it, here's how you update the software, here's how you connect it to your robot, and we'll write our first code together. The other one, which I don't remember which is which, goes into more depth on ways to code. So that's my answer there if you have any other questions. If it's just competition, oh, Bree asked a question here. Is morning available for iPads? Is morning available for iPads? Brenda, did you do a typo? Is moving available? ModKit. So to answer your question, I don't know how you can get ModKit now, because if you go to ModKit's website, it used to be ModKit's the download was on VEX's site. They've taken it off. I don't know if there's just a licensing issue or what, but VEX is not giving ModKit for free. You have to go to ModKit's website. They did have an iPad version before, but I don't know if you need to pay for it now. So you could try it. They had it last year, but you could also just download it on the App Store, VEX Code kit. Oh, I promised you I'd show you how to do the iPad. If you've never connected your iPad to the smart radio or brain, it is very easy to do, but there's one thing that you have to do that I did not realize, and I'll show you where I found out how to do this. Go to VEX's website. And any of you that have the blue smart radios can do this. You go to VEX IQ. I just need to get to the smart radio. Products, electronics. All right. Uh-oh. There we go. On the smart radio page, I'm going to go down to Documents. This might slow and chop up my audio, but I'm going to click on this. And scroll down. This is the key right here. So if you remember when you connect your remote to your brain, you have the little cell phone signal and it's growing and it's growing, and once you connect it, it's solid bars. This is the Bluetooth signal right here. So this is basically telling you I've enabled Bluetooth. I'm going to search for a Bluetooth device, which your iPad is. And when you're connected, it gives you a solid bar like this. So you need to, it's not enabled. You have to enable it. So if you go down here, it tells you how to connect your, to turn on your Bluetooth. Okay. So it basically tells you, you go to driver control, you go to system info, you then click on a button, I don't know, you turn on radio data on, and you notice when you do that, you'll get this little arrow that will pop up. So you need to actually turn on the smart radio on the brain in order to get that little icon there. Once you do it in the app, or in the VEX IQ on your iPad app, as long as your Bluetooth is enabled, right, when I click on brain, it will pop up, it will automatically connect. Everything worked for me flawlessly once I did that. It took me forever. It's not going to be enabled. So once I turned on that little guy there, I was able to connect and find the brain without connecting it with a wire, because you don't have a wire for the iPad. So anyway, that's how you do it. You need the smart radio instructions, which I got off the website, and then that's that. I did find a forum of some people having issues with it, and it really came down to making sure that your iPad is updated to the newest iOS and your Bluetooth is turned on and not connected to another device like a speaker or phone in your room. All right, we're at 4:56, and I've done that. What other questions? I see one right here. Bree said, if it's just a competition with 16 teams, not a league, are they only eligible for 2 state spots for TA? Can they have an excellent state eligibility for only 16? Randy.
Hey, 16 to 23, 2 state spots. Must be 24 or more for the third one.
Perfect. Question answered. Randy, you have so much knowledge in your head. I'm done. I mean, I don't have anything else to go. I've answered all the questions that you guys gave me. What other questions do you have right now? I've got 30 more minutes. Otherwise, we are done. What other questions do you guys have? I'm monitoring the chat right now. I see a thanks. You're welcome, Sean. Bree, thank you for all of your answering of questions. Randy, thank you of answering of questions. Type quick if you got any questions. How do I register my team? Oh, now they're pouring in. All right, let's start with how to register my team. I'm going to go back to my robot resource page and go to robot coaching. and click on how to register a returning team. It walks you through step by step how to do it. So I'm basically saying on a lot of these answers, I'm showing you the resources versus doing all the work for you, but it literally walks you through. You're going to have to go into robot events, log in, and register your team through there. Next question, when you have worked with PC and Mac for doing code, which do you prefer? Megan, I'm a PC user, so I like PCs. So that's my answer. There's legit no difference in coding. I, in my opinion, think you have more flexibility with PC. Macs have a lot of security issues, so installing software and, I just think PCs are easier and more flexible when you're dealing with software. Randy, do you have any 2 cents on PC versus Mac?
I can't say any better than you did. I'm a PC user myself, but for those who like Macs, they'll feel that way toward Mac.
Got it. I've got a question. I learned a lot as a first-year coach. I'd love a list of the links to the websites you showed. I'm not even kidding. Everything I showed you is on our robot resource page right here. Coaching links, look at all these links. I mean, tons of them. IQ competition, all these links. Like, you just need to spend an evening or whatever going through all of this stuff. There's a lot of valuable stuff in here. And then we will send this PowerPoint out today that has all these links that are in here. We'll send it out probably tomorrow to help you out. All right, what steps have been taken with event partners to ensure students are allowed to review and sign off their score before they are submitted? We had a competition. Randy, are you hearing this? This is a long one. We had a competition where there was an issue. Students were told they did not need to. All right, so I'm going to speak on this, and Randy, you chime in. It is not required to sign off a scoring sheet. It is a preferred method. If you have a lot of teams in a short amount of time, you don't have the time to sit and have them sign off. A referee should ask, is this the score you got? You get a visual nod and you move on. I cannot apologize enough that it absolutely stinks when there is a score entered incorrectly. And you're absolutely right. It would help if there was a signature, but we have even had signatures from students. That just doesn't solve all the problems, because we have done this. I've been to events where we've done signatures from students, and the students just signed it because they were in front of a crowd, they were nervous, they never even counted, or there were still mistakes made, even with a signature from students. And where people say, oh, the score is wrong, we get the score sheet out, it's a paper form, the kids signed it, and the coaches are still arguing about it. So unfortunately, it does not solve all problems. I know that's not the answer you want to hear. I think REC has done a better job of creating training for referees, because I think that's kind of your question maybe, is referees are making mistakes when scoring or entering scores. There is now, REC now has videos for the referees, and they even have an online REC certificate class they would like to have referees to go through to be authorized and to be certified in order to become a ref and do reffing. But I also want to point out, a lot of these referees all of them are volunteers. There is no referee association that float around from school to school that are complete knowledge authority on this. A lot of these are parents or engineers or teachers that are volunteering, and they're doing the best they can. And I understand you spend a long time, I spend a long time during a build season working on a robot, and it comes down to a bad call by the ref. I am going to throw an NFL example into it. The NFL is $1 billion industry, and their referees, and with slow motion video and replays, and we even have challenge flags on holding calls and pass interference calls, and they still can't get it right. So I'm not going to get into the big debate on this, but the referees are going to do the best they can, and I would tell you 99% of the referees are going to give it the benefit of the student, the benefit of the doubt of the student. So that's my rant on there. Is anything there's more to this question, Randy, I need to get to. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about on that? Because he talks about the next question is, what are the rules governing clock malfunction? If a clock goes out, did not start, or midway through it went out, are students allowed to do a rematch? This caused much confusion for one of our teams at the state level. Both clocks went out, and unfortunately were not granted a do-over. Do you want to talk about anything else, Randy, about clocks or about referee
Okay.
scoring?
Do-overs should be done very little, not much at all. It's got to be a really good reason. Things like that is going to be determined by the head referee and the event partner at the event. If the clock on the display quits working, the one-turn manager is probably still running without any problem. So that person at that table could just start shutting off 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 seconds to go, 5 seconds to go, so forth. They can count it off on that because the timer in turn manager does not shut down.
Yep. And I mean, if it's at state, I apologize. I'm the event partner at state, and I apologize if something like that would happen. I would tell you we have some amazing referees. They're very well trained, and our head ref is, I would say, one of the most knowledge authorities of the rules in the world. So I'm not gonna. I think he knows the rules better than anyone and makes a pretty safe call. But we're all humans and make mistakes. We do extensive training for our refs, and I think the certification is going to help. And yeah, honestly, in the rules, it is not required to. Honestly, it is not required to display the timer. I don't think I see that anywhere where it says it's required to display the timer for the students. It is obviously preferred. The kids need to know the time, but it is. I don't think it says anywhere that needs to be displayed visibly in front of or behind the kids. Am I wrong, Randy?
No, you are correct. That it's considered a best practice, but it's not required. Yeah. MCs tend to do countdowns. Like at the time where they switch controllers, they say time to switch.
Yeah.
Okay, just switch for now. That type of thing.
Yeah. And then another one says, what is your stance on our radio frequency interference? This too happened to one of us, the teams at a Worlds match. Another team claimed radio interference caused their bot to malfunction, and as a result allowed to rematch, surpassing their original score. Our team lost their seat in the finals all at Worlds. Any comment on that, Randy?
That was handled by the staff there. I'm not going to go there. I know exactly what they're talking about, and it's a done deal on that.
Okay. I don't know anything about it, so I'm not gonna even try to speak to it. So I'm Brian. Oh, Rihanna. I'm sorry. For VEX IQ blocks, have you tested on Chromebooks? Well, if the Chromebooks can, some Chromebooks you have to install an app. You can't install software, and this is only in Apple Store. It's not on Android, if I'm not mistaken. So I haven't tried on Chromebook. I don't know if it works. Randy, any sense on VEX Code blocks for Chromebooks?
I know there's someone who's tried it, and I think it does work okay, but I do know within the school system, the way the Chromebook is set up for that school network, it's got to allow that to write to it. So I know that it has something to do with the network of the school system.
Yeah, I would prefer if you had a PC, a computer, not a Chromebook. But you can give it a try. You can Google it. I haven't had any experience with it. I don't own a Chromebook. I've never been able to test it. If we want to set up a league, are we responsible for contacting teams in our area? Then we need to register the league with Randy.
It's the other way around. You set up the robot events league, and then I guess it can go either way, I guess. But you need to have some teams involved. So yes, they probably won't just sign up. You'll probably have to get some in your area who want to be part of that.
Okay, and Brenda, you can email Randy if you want to host a league, and he can send you additional information on hosting a league. What did you leave out of our kit that our school has to come by? Oh, I think you're talking to Bree. How do we transfer a team registration from last year to a new coach? Randy, I'll let you talk on that one.
That coach needs to create an account in Robot Events. Once that coach does that, send me that coach's email and the team number, and I'll take care of it.
What happens if that coach is gone?
Send me that. Okay, same thing. Whoever's taking over, have them create an account in Worldwide Events. I can do nothing until they do that.
Got it.
But then give me the team number and I can put them in.
Got it. So Sean, make an account and email Randy, and he'll transfer it. Does this mean you need 24 teams for an excellence award to gain a state bid? At a competition, you need 24 or more for that event to even qualify for excellence. And then that would also mean that the event partner is saying, I'm going to actually provide an excellence award, which means for them that they need to have judges to evaluate the design notebooks and walk around and the judge and talk to the kids. So what you need to do is, Raina, is look at the event you're going to and say, it should say in the notes how many state qualifying spots they're going to have. And then you can also email the event partner and ask them, does this qualify for state? Does excellence qualify for state? Megan, are you averaging scores this year or adding them up? Or is this done by competition choice? Averaging scores or adding them up? Is that?
Tournament manager does it all. There's nothing any human is doing. It's all done by the software. So after every four, it's going to drop the lowest score, and then the next four will do the same thing. All that. So it's worked that way for years, and that's how it will continue to be that way.
Yep. Yeah. Don't forget the two lowest score. Every 4 matches, your lowest score is thrown away, and tournament manager does that. A lot of people think, oh, there's a miscalculation or mistake. We don't do any adding, and the event partner doesn't do any adding. They just enter the score, and the computer does it all. All right, any other questions? I think we're going to wrap up unless there's any other questions. Raina, I know you had a lot of questions, and I did my best to try to answer them. Let me know if there's anything else I missed out on that. What is left to purchase?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. That you did quite a bit here.
Bree, is that? Of course. Thank you all for just being awesome robotics coaches. Really appreciate it.
I will make one last comment. Do not wait too long to sign up for events. They will fill up, and if you wait till January, there probably won't be much, if anything at all.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, I really mean it. I appreciate everything that you guys do. I know it takes a lot of time, and the fact that you spent your afternoon listening more and more about robotics is so awesome. So I really appreciate everything you do. I know it takes a lot of time, effort, and energy, but it's so worth it for the kiddos and rewarding. So thank you so much. Anytime you have a question, email Randy or I. Bree manages our robot grant email, so she manages and answers all those questions. So just because we're not talking anymore in a webinar doesn't mean you can't continue to ask questions. So robotgrant@techpointyouth.org, or you can email Randy. I posted his email because someone asked for it. So we've already used our 2 early bird registrations. When can we get on the wait list for others? Sorry, Randy, last question. This will be the last one because we're going to go. Randy, Megan asked, when we've already used our 2 early bird registration, is there a way we can get on the wait list for others?
When you get within 6 weeks of an event, you can be able to sign up for that.
That's right. Yep. Cool. All right. Thank you, Bree. Thank you, Randy, so much. Thank you, everyone, for being awesome. I'm giving you electronic high fives right now. No hugs, 'cause that's weird. Just high fives. Have a good night. Peace out.